Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, so much of things that we need to see about. Surely I do have to spell them out. Cause you know as well as I do, the only way is put in more effort and less play. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. Yes, indeed. Now more than ever before, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a better nation because this is our home and we need to constantly be enhancing it, transforming it, making it better for our children and children. I want to welcome you to the hub. Again, we have a unique moment in time to talk using radio and social media to connect. And tonight I want to start off by saying there seemed to be a serious incoherence, mismessaging, uh, disorganized way of communicating from the NNP. It seems as though everyone who gets the nod to be caretaker has their own script, saying one thing so and saying the other way. And it's confusing people because today a gentleman who is a security guard said to me he has been a security guard for plenty years. And he has never seen it so good in terms of his salary at the end of the month. Because during the NNP time, he used to work for $4 an hour for years. $4 per hour. The NDC came and they increased that hourly wage to $9.25. And some security officers even getting more. So they increased that amount, and security officers are extremely happy. But it was because of the minimum wage. It was because the NDC administration, the most Honorable Deacon Mitchell and his team saw the need to increase the minimum wage, adjust the minimum wage. Something by law that must be adjusted, or may I say, should be adjusted every 3 years because the NNP refused to adjust it. They never adjusted the minimum wage. So when the NDC adjusted the minimum wage, you saw security officers, you saw cooks, you saw cleaners, you saw folks who work in the hotel as, housekeepers, office attendants, even bus drivers and conductors and laborers. And you saw people who work in the Indian stores, the Syrian stores, they started getting more. The people who are geriatric caregivers, that kind of stuff, they started getting more money per month or per fortnight. It was because of the minimum wage adjustment. So to hear Amanda Japal, a young woman who is fresh in the politics with NNP making certain pronouncements, causing the people who are positively impacted by this increase in the minimum wage to think twice about the NNP and their vision. In other words, the NNP wants Grenada to regress. The NNP wants to take Grenada back to the dark days, right? The days of bacchanal confusion, instability, poverty, vulnerability, victimization, and the problems holistically. That is what they want. They want to reverse Grenada, but we are moving forward. So when this young woman said the following, a lot of people who are positively impacted, who are happy because the government of Grenada adjusted the minimum wage, they then say, but wait, this young woman should have more sense than that.
And that brings me back to that tricky subject of minimum wage. Let's be real. That was just a distraction. They raised it so that they could raise their own salaries to make it look like a win for the people. But when the dust settles, you realize it wasn't for you.
So she's saying the reason why they raised the minimum wage was because they wanted to raise or increase their salaries. That's what she's claiming. But she went on further to say it was not for you. So she needs to tell that to the security officer. She needs to tell that to the young lady who works in the Indian store or the Syrian store. She needs to tell that to the Imani trainee who was collecting $700 and now collecting $1,200. She needs to tell that to the geriatric caregiver who is now collecting $1,400. It used to be $800 and $700. She needs to tell that to the cleaner who used to get $600 and something dollars, $700 and something dollars a month, and now getting $1,200. She needs to tell that to the bus driver and the conductor and the housekeeper and the gardener and the office attendants, and tell that to these people that it was not for them. Tell that to them. Because you know what baffles me the most? The NDC never increased the salary of ministers. Because during the NNP time, the ministers of government were free to go to the central police station on the Carnage and take gasoline and diesel at different intervals. And they could have 5 different vehicles. They could fill all of them up on a given day. In fact, when they did the calculation of the amount of money they were costing government on a monthly basis, it was close to $4,000. So when the NDC came into power, they stopped that. They said to the ministers of government, you need to drive your vehicle, or if you have somebody else driving your vehicle, that $2,000 traveling allowance that we are giving you has to cover that, has to cover the people who are driving the vehicle and your gas. They made it very clear. Very, very clear. So you see many of the ministers driving for themselves, and those who are not driving, they have to use that same $2,000 to pay those drivers. But during the NNP time, there was free gas and free diesel, plus all those ministers who assigned a driver paid by taxpayers. So in fact, more than $6,000 was going to these people for transportation, transporting, driving them. More than $6,000. But the NDC came in and put only $2,000. So they cut off this free gasoline at the central police station on the Carnage. And the MPs, the ministers of government, they have to either drive, buy their own gas with that $2,000, or take that $2,000 and pay their driver, and that's it. So anybody with common sense would know that the government never increase the salaries of ministers. In fact, the ministers today would have been far better off with the kind of arrangement that the NNP had in place for ministers. Because if the ministers today were getting free gas anytime they want at the central police station on the Carenage still, and they had a driver assigned to them, it would cost taxpayers $6,000 plus dollars. And the ministers would be the beneficiaries of that. And they would be extremely happy, right? Because they could fill up all their vehicles, they have a driver, no headache. But that $2,000 that they get in now, many instances cannot even cover the driver and the gas if they have that. So the NNP is out there with this misinformation, this lie, trying to inculcate, trying to indoctrinate, trying to, baptize you with lies about some increase in salaries of ministers. That's a lie from the pit of hell. And anybody who is logical, anybody who is reasonable, anybody who is conscious-minded will agree that there was no increase for ministers. In fact, there was a decrease, because they would have been better off. The ministers today would have been better off with the arrangement that the NNP had in place for the ministers when it comes to traveling, free gasoline, and no matter if they have 5 vehicles, they could go at the central police station on the Carenage once they're in that vehicle and fill it up. And mind you, they were all assigned a driver, paid driver by taxpayers of this country. So who fooling who? So this woman said this nonsense, and people are wondering.
And that brings me back to that tricky subject of minimum wage. Let's be real. That was just a distraction. They raised it so that they could raise their own salaries to make it look like a win for the people. But when the dust settles, you realize it wasn't for you.
And it scares me, because you have NNP supporters who are saying yes, yes, yes at this little meeting that was not well attended anyways. And it brings me back to when Keith Mitchell said that he was getting a blackout, and they were clapping. The level of illiteracy that exists among these people scares me. It scares me. Because you're talking about the lives of ordinary people in this country being positively enhanced, positively transformed, positively, impacted by the minimum wage order. This woman is saying something totally different. She's saying, well, look, they did this because they wanted to increase their salary. And then you ask, but tell me, where did they increase their salary? And they don't want to engage in a conversation with people who are reasonable. Because if I meet this woman or any of them, and I say, but I heard you last night or night before talking about minister's salary being increased. Can you prove that to me? Can you tell me where? Because as far as I know, all the MPs, both opposition and government, they're getting $5,000 as a salary, as being a member of parliament. And that's across the board. So it's not just government, but the opposition too. Once you're an elected MP or member of parliament. But I'm saying this woman got it wrong. She needs to rethink. I mean, she speaks a lot, but lacks substance. The minimum wage order was good for everybody yesterday, last month, January, and it's good today and then going forward. Every 3 years, they will adjust the minimum wage so that workers in the country can get a better salary. Simple as that. The NDC was brave enough to deal with it head on and adjust it. The Honorable Claudette Joseph had this to say.
A new minimum wage order will take effect in Grenada from January 1st, 2024, the first in 12 years. It will mean an increase in minimum wage across all sectors that are currently in the legislation, along with the inclusion of other sectors that were not treated under the minimum wages order. Senator the Honorable Claudette Joseph, Attorney General and Minister for Labor and Consumer Affairs, says the Minimum Wages Committee, led by Mr. Curlin Gilchrist, held a number of consultations where the data received were carefully analyzed, resulting in the final document that will be in the Government Gazette in the coming weeks.
In some instances, we have 100% increase. Some instances, it's less. And in other instances, we have increases that reflect really what the market conditions are now, bearing in mind that these wages were adjusted 12 years ago. So some sectors have moved on and have left the minimum wages order behind. So for example, the going rate, the minimum at which a bus conductor, you would find a bus conductor working now, is around $60, $60 to $65. That's the market. That's what the market is demanding now. But in the current legislation, it's still at 35.
In keeping with the rate of inflation and what the market is demanding in some instances, Senator Joseph says the minimum wages were adjusted in line with what the market is currently saying.
We have industrial workers. All of them will have the minimum wages included, and these industrial workers include machine operators, cutters, and mechanics and cleaners. So we have $100 a day for mechanics, $85 a day for cutters, machine operators $70 a day, and cleaners $60 a day. Clerical workers, so these are store assistants, administrative clerks, cashiers, receptionists, and so minimum wage $1,200 a month. You will see some rates are quoted by the day, some by the month, and some by the hour. And that reflects how the industry operates and how the industry compensates its workers, how the particular sector traditionally compensate its workers.
There has also been an increase in the daily hourly rate for security guards and domestic workers.
Security guards, currently it's $8 per hour. It's going to be up to $9.25. Domestic workers, currently it's $35 a day. It's going to go up to $60 a day. Caregivers, people who take care of the elderly, including the elderly who live in homes for the aged, this will see a 100% increase from $700 to $1,400 a month. Workers in bakeries and similar establishments, they normally get paid per week. So payment for ovenmen and bakers, that will increase from $240 to $375 per week. Pastrymen and women from $240 to $350 a week. Wrappers and packers from $170 to $300 a week. And those who are paid by the agricultural workers, for example, they currently work at $6.50 per hour. Their minimum wage will now be $60 a day.
Media workers, early childhood caregivers, and sanitation workers are among the new inclusion on the minimum wage order.
There's a uniqueness about sanitation workers The research and the work of the committee shows that sanitation workers, we have a shortage of sanitation workers in Grenada. The rate currently is in the region minimum of about $65 a day. And so after doing the relevant research and conducting the consultations with stakeholders, employers and employees alike, the committee recommends a minimum wage of $108 a day for sanitation workers. So that's a substantial increase to this new category. Also, new in the minimum wages will be call center workers.
Right. So that's the Honorable Claudia Joseph there, detailing the people who will be covered in the whole minimum wage order. But that's a good thing for Grenada and for workers. But to hear the NNP caretaker for some constituency in St. Andrew talk this rubbish about the minimum wage, it makes me wonder what type of representation this woman could really give. Because in that very constituency that she is caretaker for, because the NNP made her caretaker for one of those constituencies. And who cares? In that very said constituency, you have security officers, you have cleaners, you have sanitation workers, you have geriatric caregivers, you have clerical assistants, you have cooks, you have bus conductors, you have laborers, you have media workers, you have all of those things, housekeepers. You have all of those people, all of those different professions and people in that very constituency. So to see this thing as not important because you want to throw some zinger at the ministers of government, and when you really boil it down, you would realize that what she's saying about the ministers and increasing salaries is not true. It's not. But at the end of the day, we have to shine a light on this. And folks, I want to open up the line tonight to hear from you. Are you a security officer? Are you a caregiver or a geriatric caregiver? Are you a cook? Are you a bus driver, conductor? Are you a laborer? Are you a farm worker? Are you a housekeeper? Are you a clerk? I mean, you have been impacted positively by this. I would love to hear from you. Tell me, uh, it was not for you? Because I think she said she used words to the effect. Let me see it here. I mean, it's sad as a young politician. I mean, she needs to think twice before even talking.
And that brings me back to that tricky subject of minimum wage. Let's be real. That was just a distraction. They
So she claims that the minimum wage adjustment was a distraction.
raised it so that they could raise their own salaries
She's saying they raised it so that they could raise their own salaries
to make it look like a win for the people.
to make it look like a win for the people. But I want to know from you who are positively impacted, right? Or family members of those who are positively impacted. It was a win for you. It was a win for you.
But when the dust settles, you realize it wasn't for you.
So she's saying when the dust settles, it wasn't for you, but you benefited and you continue to benefit from it. Folks, the number to call is 538-0933. 538-0933. If you're overseas, you have to call. Well, you have to add me to WhatsApp 1473 415. No, sorry. 1473 538-0933. So if you want to chime in, if you want to vent, if you want to speak about this, because she said that this thing is not was never for you. And I'm wondering, I would love to hear from you if you benefited directly from it, the minimum wage order, or if you know of a friend or family member who benefited from it. Because you listen to this woman and you wonder. You wonder. I mean, and these are the people who want to come back. They want to get into power to govern, to run this country. I would love to hear tonight from you, the people. The number again, 538 0933. 538 0933. What is your take? What is your viewpoint on all of this? How do you view it? Do you agree with what she's saying or do you disagree? What is your thought, your position on all of this? I would love to hear from you. All right? I would love to hear your thoughts, your viewpoint. So, open opportunity for you to talk. The number again, 538 0933. 538 0933. I would love to hear from you. What is your take on what you heard from this woman? And you compare it to what the Honorable Claudette Joseph said regarding what the minimum wage order contains and the people who benefited from all of this and continue to benefit.
Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come let us go hand in hand because this is our land. Come my brother, come
All right, let's take the first call. Good evening, caller.
Good evening to you, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, what I realize is that the NNP, when they was in power, they failed to do what the NDC is doing now. So they're looking for any cheap avenues as to see how they could, put the NDC government and administration in the lowest bracket as possible. And if you really check it out, for the 23 and a half years the NNP was in power, they never really did as much when you look at it as what NEC has done in this last 3 years. Them fellas has then done here. Check the teachers strike. They settle that. Tell you increase in salary and all the thousands of dollars that the NMP administration let con men and crooks come and steal and go. We should have gone back into the economy. We need nothing about that. What? Let's just leave it that way. NNP is a dead horse. Buy and you keep highlighting the goodness or the good things, sorry, that this present administration is doing and what they intend to do. Forward ever, backward never.
Oh,
Bye. You have a good.
thank you very much. Thank you very much, dear caller. Thank you very much. Well said. Again, the number is 538 0933. I would love to hear from you. What is your take? What is your position? You heard Amanda Japal, her position, and she was speaking on the NNP platform, right? It scares me. It's like the NNP wants to see people poor. They want you to remain where you are, no upward mobility. This is something that both parties should agree on and be happy about, that the minimum wage has been adjusted to positively impact the lives of working people. Both parties should be happy about that. There should be no difference in point of views where that is concerned. Good evening, caller. Good evening. Good evening, caller.
Yeah, boss.
Yeah, how you doing?
Good.
You want to lower the volume of what you're listening to there? Just lower the volume.
No, like that.
Go ahead.
No, I get called because the concern at us. We're not on that program then.
Yeah, man, you live, you know.
Yeah?
Yeah, man. You speaking to Kem
Yeah,
Jones?
yeah, just my opinion on that, man, is that if you realize what's going on there, the LNP,
You want to just lower the volume of whatever you're listening to. All right? And then have a phone conversation with me.
yes,
Because
am
you
I there?
yeah, because you're gonna hear yourself after.
All right.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, when I look at it, brother, you realize that anything bad, the LNP talking about. What you, as an opposition, you got to talk. The good things going on, talk about the good things. That's what you got to be looking at. Talk about the good things. You know, don't just only talk about the bad things. This too, if you realize, from my observation, brother, you have a lot of men that are working in commercial area. They leave in the commercial work and go and work in security because security work pay more than in the commercial area. You understand?
Right.
That's my observation. People have a better wage packet now.
Of course, you're correct.
And NMP was there. And you see this thing about poor and vulnerable. Once you start talking, you'll keep people in the poor. You understand? Yeah, if you debushing for 4 times a year, you just sit down and you go back and do it. Work is a continuous. If you want a place to go good, you have to be working. You understand? And that is my position. I can't support the NNP and not kind of dogmatic thing there, man. It's not nice.
All right. Thank you.
It's not nice.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you,
brother.
man. One love.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much there, caller. And again, I would love to hear from you. The number is 538-0933. 538-0933. Because, look, there are some things that both parties should agree on. And this is one of them, the minimum wage, because it's impacting the lives of working people positively. You speak to the security officers, you speak to the cooks, you speak to the cleaners, you speak to the laborer, you speak to the bus conductor, you speak to the office attendant, you speak to the money trainee, you speak to, geriatric caregivers, you speak to the simple people, the housekeepers, and they would tell you that they're getting a better salary, they're able to do more for their family, they're able to transform their homes. I mean, that is what you want, upward mobility. So for the NNP and this woman to be throwing all this rhetoric out there, it says a lot about the party NNP. They're thinking, they see everybody here as poor and vulnerable. Good evening, caller.
Yeah, it can. Yeah. As soon as possible, if the government can reap the benefit of the oil and gas, the minerals around the island, and keep the brain drain from leaving. I know what you just said is 100% true. All the wages was raised, right? But the whole thing about it is that we need some the health, and we don't have enough people and leaving the island. Too many people leaving the island. So if we can raise the wages and they need the money, it's to cut tapping into the carbon deposits, and keep the wages as high as North America and Europe to keep the brain drain from leaving, especially in the medical and the health industry. We don't have a lot of people to do all the work that we need the manpower for. We don't have human HR. We don't have human resources or the people who do the trades. Bring it up to North America. Everybody got paid. Yeah, we know we raised a lot of money, but to keep that brain drain from leaving and going to North America and Europe, we need to raise it. Bring that wages up higher to keep the brain drain from leaving the islands.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jay Caller. Thank you very much for sharing your opinion. Thank you very much indeed. Again, the number is 538-0933. 538-0933. I am saying If this is the way the NNP intends to go, anybody with a little sense would realize that the NNP is not good for Grenada. And that direction they want to take the country is backwards, not forwards. Forward ever, backward never. We are moving forward. We are pressing on. Come on, there's some things to me that both parties could agree on. And the minimum wage adjustment is one of them. But you see, the NNP, they vex. They don't want you, the workers, to get better wages. They dislike that. They're against that. But they want your vote because they want to keep you poor and vulnerable. And they don't care. They don't care. Good evening, caller.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good. Yes. Good.
Proceed. You're live.
Yes. Right. Me work with Grab and come for 12 years, and whatever his name is, the boy was a union leader, and look up to now I can get me money.
Okay.
Chester Humphrey.
All right. We're
And I can.
listening.
Huh?
We're listening to you.
Yeah, and I can't get me money over 12 years and 2012 up to now I can't get me money.
Okay. Well, I hope you get your money soon.
For how soon?
No, I said I hope you. I can't help you to get your money. You mentioned an individual name. I don't know what
Yeah,
is the circumstances, but I'm saying to you,
yes,
I
yes,
can only hope.
when Kid Mitchell and put him in Senate, he started to fight, and after I put him in senator, and then after that over there.
Okay. Well, thank you for
So
sharing with us. All right.
yes, you're welcome.
All
Yeah.
right. Thank you. Again, the number is 4473. For those overseas, 1473 538 0933. So you can add me to WhatsApp. You can call me from WhatsApp. And even here in Grenada, you can add the number and call me from WhatsApp. It's an easy way to do it. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Kim.
Yeah, good
What I
evening.
say is, Kim, is that NMP ruled for so long, and is now they getting vision to see that we need sidewalks, we need more money. And this kicksy little girl they put there and this boy in granates. May the Lord help their soul. Good night.
All right. Yeah. I think Amanda should be in theater. She will do better there. All right. I personally think so. Because any conscious minded person, any logically thinking person, any reasonable thinking person would agree that adjusting the minimum wage to give people better salaries is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And the people who were impacted by this, they're happy. They're getting more money at the end of the fortnight or at the end of the month. That's a good thing. But to come out and criticize it, condemn it, throw shades over it, I mean, come on. Come on. This is silly in politics. Very, very silly. This is like playing mommy and daddy, yeah, dolly ways and that kind of thing. Right? Grenadians want good. They want betterment for people. And when they see it, they can recognize it. But again, folks, it's a good opportunity for you to vent, to speak. You can call. You can add the number to WhatsApp 1473 538
Hi, good
0933.
night.
Good evening. How you
Kev, good
doing?
night. Yeah, okay.
Proceed.
Listen, in this modern day politics, if you notice, propaganda is the order of the day because you have to refute anything to keep your fan base. You know, you have to refute anything that's good. Lying is not a problem. You could just refute it, but anyone could see, if you look around in the country, you would realize that there's a lot more money in circulation. Yeah?
Right.
A lot more money in circulation. People are spending more. You look at the supermarkets, you look at the markets and so on, and it's because a lot of the persons who were in the lower income bracket have benefited tremendously from the minimum wage, and what it was hoped for. Because you see, people didn't understand that it was a scientific job, that the research was done by Cullen and the others before they raised the minimum wage. Yeah? And people were thinking that, employers would just let go workers and you would have a whole upheaval. So people started to criticize. But right now, people are happy and people are just spending the excess money and doing things, and you have much more money in circulation. But politics on our opposition side is just to cover everything and make everything look dark. All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, caller. Well said. Thank you very much indeed. Again, the number is 538 0933. 538 0933. It's a new number, but that's the number we are using here so you can go online or live on the radio. So if you have a contribution to make, you want to speak about this, because, my point is a very simple one. Both political parties should agree on the minimum wage adjustment because it is good for the working people of the country. So the NNP coming out now and condemn it and speak ill about it says a lot about their philosophy, how they view people. They want you to remain poor. They want you to remain vulnerable. They want you to remain dependent. They want you to remain illiterate. They want you to remain in a very desperate position. The NDC wants good for you. The NDC administration, the most Honorable Deacon Mitchell and his team, they want you to become a better person. They want your standard of living and condition to improve. They want good for you. And they're not just talking it, they're actually showing you that they're serious about bettering your living standard and condition. They're taking action, they're putting things in place, they're doing things for you. When you listen to the NNP, I mean, this is a young caretaker for the NNP, the Amanda Jappel woman, but she lacks substance. She comes across as empty. She doesn't have depth, and she seemed to be a theater performer, a dramatist, for want of a better term here. We need people who are serious about transforming this place. Good evening, caller.
Hello, good night, Ken.
Good evening. How you doing?
Good. Day easy, man.
Okay.
Ken, the minimum wage is one of the very, very good things the government done for the low income people. For us. Very, very good thing. Ken, I used to do security and NFP time. And I used to work for $4 an hour.
Yeah, and I know you, and I know when you used to work security.
$4.
Yeah.
When I sometimes I work an 8-hour shift. When I work an 8-hour shift, for it's 32.
And if you work for 10 hours, that's $40 you're going home with?
Yes, Ken. And I have my wife. I have my what? 3 children. Going to secondary school.
Yeah.
And it was hard. It was really hard. So I don't see why they have to criticize the minimum wage now. people getting more money into their pocket, and they could, they could, they live, their living standard could be, is better.
Yeah.
So that NMP have nothing good to offer.
I
They're
fully
criticizing that.
I fully
They have
agree.
nothing good to offer. So I hope these voters, when the time comes, use their head and do what is best.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a caller I know. I know this gentleman many a years doing security work, and his testimony is nothing but the truth. Because you could imagine working as a security officer during the NNP time for $4 an hour. Now you're getting $9.25, 100 and something%, right? It's 125% or a little more, just a little more. Good evening, caller. Hello. During the NNP time. Hello. For $4 an hour. Good evening. No, you get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good evening,
Yes.
Ken.
Just
How,
lower.
how are you?
I'm good. Lower the volume of what you're listening to.
I don't have anything on my side.
Okay, it's better now. Go ahead. Proceed.
Okay. Listen, you're not talking to the NNP people. You're not talking to serious people. We have to begin to understand that. These people are psychologically and mentally abused. And I would like to think physically abused to some extent. They cannot think for themselves. They need to be educated. It will take some time for them to get to understand truth from lies and deceit. This young lady, I admire the young lady. I mean, she seemed outside of the realm and under the wings of the party and the leaders and, who she claimed to be her mentor. She's an okay person. And the question I want to ask people like her and Nolene is Thompson and the Green guy and the rest of them, what legacy are they leaving for their children? Do you want people teasing your children and ask them why your mother could lie with? You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, yes.
They're not thinking that far because it seems to me like they're under some spell. I don't know what magic this man has, what he does to these people. He abused them psychologically and mentally. And once he start living in the head rent-free, they cannot help themselves. I'm wondering if they have friends, who could think a little better to encourage them. Please get out. Get out while you still can. Right? The doc, as she likes to call him, has a PhD plus in knowing how to damage these young people. When he finished with them, they no use to themselves, they no use to their families, they no use to society. So somebody need to get in her ear. Not only her, the last four of them that he put in need to get in the ear and talk to them daily if it comes to that. Look at the Franklin guy from Brazil. The young man was wise enough to get out. As he graduate from SGU, I think last week, he graduate. You think if he was on the kit, he would be able to do that? Let us use him as an example. And I have two words for all of them. Peter, David. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well said there, caller. Thank you very much. In fact, you could have continued with your viewpoints. I was really loving it. You have it dong pack. All right. Thank you very much there, Indeed, again, the number 5380933, 5380933. If you want to get on the inside, if you want to vent, if you want to have your say, you can. 5380933. And what is sad, this lady is young, fresh in the politics. And to start off like this, it is pitiful. And I just hope that something can happen for her so she can see the light. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Kim, to
How you
you
doing?
and
How you doing, my
your
brother?
listeners. Well, you know,
All right.
yeah, but I have a question for Miss Japal. The fact that she is the host, I believe, of the program where they do the one-on-one with the doc, and it seems like they submit to his every word. The fact that years ago he's been on record in Parliament making statements as it pertains to the salaries of the permanent secretary versus the ministers, and the boss getting paid less and the permanent secretary getting paid more than the prime minister and all of that. And he knew that justice had to be done, so that you could get the minister's pay where it needs to be. What will she do the next time she meet him face to face, considering his words in the past and how she, in her present utterances, contradict his position? I really would like to find out what she would ask him and how she would challenge the premise of what he said then as compared to what she is saying now. Good night.
All right.
Something I did not mention in my presentation, and I just thought it's important to show you what is happening with the salaries of ministers. I think it's important, and that is not an attempt to put down anyone, because I'm not talking about the monies. I'm only comparing it to a salary of, for example, a permanent secretary in the ministry. The minister's salary, the Ministry of Social Development, in 2018 is 67,925. That's in the permanent secretary now of the same ministry is $84,684 per annum. Per annum. And in 2019, the minister's salary remained the same as 67,925 in 2019, but the PS salary goes up to $88,068. So the minister is the boss, but the PS is making $21,000 more dollars. And this is not, colleagues, let me be very clear. The PS deserves her salary. I'm not questioning the salary of the PS, especially if that person is working hard. They deserve it. But something has to be wrong. When a system operates, the boss is getting $21,000 less than the next person in line with authority in the ministry.
Right. So that is what Keith Mitchell said then. So the caller was making reference to that, what Keith Mitchell said then, because he was actually saying, well, look, the ministers should get a better salary. All right. The PS, they were getting, or maybe still getting, more than the ministers of government, although they're the boss in the ministry. So he was using words to that effect. So what the caller was saying, Keith, who this same woman interviews, let we hear from the doc, and she's contradicting his position, right? And when she meets him the next time or interviews him the next time, she should ask him, what is his take on increasing the salaries of ministers, for example? But as I said to you earlier, if you're logical in your thinking you will conclude just as I did. The ministers of government, they have not gotten an increase in their salary when compared to what NNP ministers enjoyed during their time. Free gasoline and diesel at the central police station on the Carnage at any time at different intervals. They could have full up 10 vehicles if they had that, because many of them had more than 2 and 3 vehicles. And when you calculate the amount of money they were costing government, taxpayers, $4,000+ in diesel and gasoline on a monthly basis. And then they still had a driver paid by taxpayers, and that driver was getting almost $1,900 or $2,000 a month. So you're looking at $6,000+ in some instances on a monthly basis going towards their traveling, right? Traveling allowance. So the NDC decided we're going to cut that out and give these ministers $2,000 traveling allowance. And they can't go to the gas station and fill up their vehicle when they want and how they want. And they either drive their vehicle. If they're a driver that they're paying, they got to pay them out of the $2,000. Come on. Come on. This thing is simple like 1, 2, 3. And Pele is correct. And some of them were so greedy that they would go with weed bottles, gas bottles, during the NNP time to fill that up too. In fact, once I jokingly said, I just hope that this thing would tumble in the vehicle and that something crazy would happen. First, they're greedy because they would fill up their vehicles, plus they would get the weed eater bottles and fill it up. You see? So again, it is clear. This woman, she's young in the politics, but she's making herself a bloody lunatic in the politics. It's too early in this thing for you to be acting like a political lunatic. If you want to go into theater, you can. But politics, that's not for you, man. Nope. Nope. But folks, I want to again remind you that we will be in New York this Saturday the 31st. This Saturday coming at 618 East 87th Street. That's the backyard. Everybody knows where that is. That's where all the events take place. We start at 7 p.m. Tickets, $40, right? Drinks, food. Food, I think the drinks is on sale. Food is pretty much free, right? Having just a little bite, if you need to, there is important. So that you can count on. Many people may even come already full just to have drinks and enjoy the music, socialize, mingle, and so on. The Honorable Ron Reddit will be there. The Honorable Ian Thomas will be there, and your humble servant Kim Jones will be there. All right, and it's to celebrate 3 years of NDC government, our government in power. 11 years of Kim Jones on radio and talk show, podcasting, talk show, and so on. And all proceeds go towards the new studio and radio station. All right. So I look forward to seeing you there. If you need tickets, you can holler at me. You can send me a message. I can give you the number for Tweet, for example, for Pam, for example, for the real Mitch, for my aunt Catherine Peters, for Norma Joseph, Leo's wife, for Glenroy Bettel, my good pal DJ Screw, and DJ Screw and DJ Chris will be playing there. So if you need tickets, you can call at me and send me a message, and I can provide you with the numbers, and you can get your ticket, or you can Zelle. I can give you the number to Zelle the money to, and you when you come there, you can get the ticket. So that is easy like 1, 2, 3. But we will be in New York on Saturday. I will be there before. It might be tomorrow. It might be tomorrow is Tuesday. It might be Wednesday. Might be Thursday. Might be Friday. But definitely, I will be in New York before Saturday for this event, and I'll be there after. So if you have a little get together, I mean, it's summer, right? Today, Memorial Day, during the week, if you have anything pop in this week into next week, let us know. We can pass by and, spend some time. And if you want to donate anything towards the radio station and studio project, you're free to do so. We can link up, we can connect. While in New York, I'm there to see you, greet you, meet you, eat, laugh, and just be with you. So again, it's a good opportunity. If you want to donate, you can do so. Just holler at me. A number of people have called me, say, hey, come on, you come, check me out, Looking forward to doing that because, the whole objective is to get resources to get our studio and radio station where it's supposed to be. Purchased the land already. We excavated the property. We purchased materials, quite a bit, towards the construction of the studio. And we are well advanced, right? But when it comes to labor and other things like that, it requires cash, all right? Requires some money. That is why we're seeking your assistance, and you can donate whatever amount towards this project because it's something that is important between now, the election, and beyond. We need to get this thing going, all right? And we could do it. We could do it. Folks, I want to wish you all the best. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. I will be back with you tomorrow, God's willing, starting from 8 in the a.m. on the Dynamic Hour. Continuing that journey, all right? As I said to you, I will be in New York before. It can be tomorrow, maybe Wednesday, maybe Thursday, maybe Friday, but I'll be in New York.